everyone, my name is Haley. I'm a Siena alumni. I graduated in May of 2020. I studied abroad at Kansai Gaidai University's Asian Studies program in Japan in the fall of 2019. It's actually what we're going to be talking about today. I'll give some tips, some pointers that I can, and talk about my experiences. Without further ado, let's get started. We're going to talk about adjustment, personal growth, and the friendships that I made. So the first few days were very tough. My phone wasn't connecting to the only other person I knew there, who was also a Siena student. I only knew the alphabet and some basic greetings, and it finally dawned on me that I was on the other side of the planet, having never left the country before. But something in me after those first few days just decided to go for it, and from then on I was just taking in every experience and every opportunity that I could. And it was a great time. This was from a tour that encouraged international students to participate, and we gave tours to local Japanese high schoolers who were looking to go to Kansai Gaidai for college. I also participated in the sports day, where my team actually came in second. Next was the orientation. Our school actually had the martial arts club do a performance for us, and it wasn't staged. It was the first time I'd ever watched a martial arts bout ever in person. So it was very interesting and a great experience. So shout out to them for giving us that amazing performance. Next was I never used to do big gatherings for parties, especially with people I wasn't super familiar with. Loved it. The Halloween party at my dorm unit. It was a great time. So many snacks, so many great people, and I became that much more close to the friends I made there. Next, I want to talk about some of my closest friendships that I made when I was there. They became my family away from home. Like they were amazing people. So shout out to them. This is a dinner we've had. A lot of us really missed tacos, Mexican, South American food, Central American food. Not commonly found in Japan. So a lot of us were missing it. So we had that. For my birthday, they gave me a card, they decorated my door, and my birthday was in September, so very early in the start of the program. And that's what told me they were going to be my friends this whole time. And they were. Alright, next we're going to look at academics and language. So the Japanese language classes and literature classes were amazing. The language class gave proper in-depth training on language skills. We learned the alphabets, which luckily I had already known that going in. I highly suggest practicing those first. And then we got sentence structures down. I have to say, much easier than English. Don't be too off-put by how different the alphabets look. Don't worry, it's not going to be that hard. Literature classes, as I'm an English major, were highly important. I gained a lot of cultural knowledge from them as well. Visual arts, for my visual arts, I took basic ceramics techniques. It was taught by ceramic artist Yuki Matsuba, and it was my first experience in ceramics. To have a focus on traditional Japanese techniques for my first experience in ceramics was a great boon, and I actually made so many that I had to fill a whole suitcase for family and friends when I came home. Next is the Speaking Partner Program. So the Speaking Partner Program you apply for before you enter before you leave to study abroad. It's geared toward the exchange of language between local Japanese students and international students, and I I gained not only language study outside the classroom, but I also gained a friend in Aoi. Plus, she was a connection, so we had started talking before classes even started, and I was able to gain a connection to not only her, but also to her friends who were other local Japanese students. And these pictures are actually from a trip that we took to Arashiyama in Kyoto, where one of her friends wanted to do a field trip by students for students to get international and local students together. I was the only one who showed up for my group, but nonetheless, it was a great time and great experience for practice. Next, we'll be moving on to finances. Now, I know it's not what everyone wants to talk about, but it's an nitty-gritty and it's very important. So I'll try to discuss as much as I can that will be beneficial for you guys. So my first word of advice is to check the financial information on your program's website. Usually there'll be some sort of scholarships available for international students to get more people to sign up, such as merit scholarships if you keep a certain grade while you're there. That can make a big difference in being able to go. If you have to take out a personal loan for personal expenses, it'll look a lot better to the bank to know that you can pay back in lump sum with a scholarship at the end. So once you know your total funds for personal expenses, come up with a rough daily budget. Build your daily budget around possible big expense trips. Like, I went to so many different places, and luckily I set aside several $100 in different locations for such a purpose, for being able to study abroad, or for being able to go on these great trips while still maintaining enough funds to get by in my daily life. Another tip is carry enough cash for transportation at all times. You don't want to end up lost, especially if you're not super familiar with the language enough to be able to read signs. So just be safe, have that on you. Next, I'm going to talk about the Gilman Scholarship. So the Gilman Scholarship, the Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship, is really what allowed me to be able to go in the first place. If you're a commuter student like I was, you may experience financial setbacks due to residency fees. What I mean by this is resident students at Siena's their residency, their housing for studying abroad is included in their Siena tuition. So it is paid by Siena when they send over the students' tuition and residency fees. However, if you're a commuter student, the same doesn't apply, and so you might be worried that you won't be able to study abroad simply because you have to pay the residency in lump sum at that time. But it's easily still possible. You have options, and scholarships are a great way to do it. The Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship covers residency. So, perfect. So basically what I suggest is follow that link. I have it up on the top, right above the title. Check out, see if you're eligible. If you're interested in it, see if you're eligible. Go under applicants, check eligibility. Also under applicants, you'll see applicants frequently asked questions. It'll talk about what expenses are covered or not covered by the Gilman Scholarship, and has more answers about eligibility. And it might seem daunting at first. The application process, it includes essays, you have to send in your transcript. Trust me, talk to the study abroad department if you're interested. They're great. They're amazing. They helped me the whole way through, and even with editing the essay. Speaking of editing, it's okay to have a lot of drafts. I had like 5 or 6 drafts for the essays. It'll help you start early. That's also my suggestion. Start on scholarship applications early if you're planning to do that. It may take a little bit of time, but it can make a huge difference in being able to go. I've also included a little excerpt from my essay, just the section where I discussed academic and professional growth that I will gain from my study abroad experience. All right. Next is the fun part. I know this is the part that everyone's looking forward to, especially after discussing finances. That's travel. So traveling across Japan, my friends and I, we went everywhere at every opportunity we could. You know, as classes and exams permitting, you want to, especially if you've gone there through scholarships, you want to make sure you keep your grades up. But that doesn't mean you can't travel. My friend group, we traveled some of the most in our whole dorm wing, and still managed to be around for exams. So we went to Kyoto, Kobe, Tokyo, Okinawa, Nara, Nagoya, Osaka, and so much more. We visited temples, we visited shrines. Up here at the top, you'll see the Running Man and Kanidaraku. These are from Dotonbori in Osaka City. I wanted to have them in here, Osaka represent. The local students would always ask, did you go see the Running Man? So I put him in here so you can see him. Next, I also went to a summer festival with my friend Mary's speaking partner and her friends. It was a great time. They taught us how to put on yukata, which is a summertime kimono. Here's a little video from that same festival. You can see here. Whoops, sorry about that. There we are. So that is a balloon game. You don't really win prizes other than the balloons, but it is very fun. And it was a nice way to end that evening. We also went to Kobe. This is a love and romance shrine. We also saw a very neat modern art piece outside of a Starbucks in Kobe's park. I took a lot of photos there. And I did remember to try Kobe beef. Very expensive, but I understand what people are talking about now. And then that's just a picture of some sadu soba. I wanted to include it because it was one of my favorite things I ate the whole time I was there. It's cold summer noodles. Good stuff. Alright, next we're going to look at Okinawa. That was one of the main big trips that I went on, and it was beautiful. We went scuba diving. Parasailing. We went to an aquarium. Amazing. I've never gone scuba diving before in my life. And here I am with Mary and our instructor photobombing behind us. This is on our way here. Our way out to go to, we actually went to a cave underwater. That is right here. I'm actually the second from the left. It's a little bit tough to see because it's dark. I never thought I would see clownfish up close underwater with them, but I proved myself wrong. The Chiromi Aquarium was beautiful. Unfortunately, my picture quality was not great inside of the aquarium, so I outsourced for that one photo, and I have the link here to who I got that from. They actually had whale sharks there. Parasailing was so much fun, and I'm going to continue to do that now that I'm home. I think I found a really fun water sport that I am going to keep up with whenever I have the opportunity. I saw a hammerhead shark from 200 meters up in the air. So amazing. And sorry, fish at the aquarium, we did have sushi afterward. Actually, most of this is actually sashimi. Pardon me. From a Okinawan-style restaurant. Thank you, Okinawa. It was a great time. Alright, next we're going to look at Kyoto. Now, I have to say, Kyoto was one of my favorites of all time. It had a lot more traditional air about it. And we got to see so many amazing shrines and temples. This one here is the Yanagi Jinja. I'm sorry, I mean the Yasaka Jinja Shinto Shrine. Beautiful. It was for actually the deity Susanoo no Mikoto and his wife and their 8 children, so there are many different smaller shrines within for all of them. We also visited the Kiyomizudera Temple. We're not allowed to take pictures inside of the temple. However, I was able to take them outside of it, and once we were out, there was some great flora. Also, there is a shop that I wanted to take a picture of. It's kind of a classic Kyoto style, like, tourist shop. There are rental kimonos. You see right above where it says kimono, it says rentaru. Then just meals and omiyage are often sold anywhere you go in Japan. Omiyage are souvenir snacks, and it's common courtesy in Japan to, if you ever go on a trip, to bring an omiyage back for acquaintances, coworkers. So I brought back plenty of those. And of course, I became super attached to Kyoto-style ice cream. It's matcha ice cream, you got a little bit of red bean paste in there and mochi. Delicious. And then next, we'll talk about Tokyo. So I only went to Tokyo on a short 2-day trip, but it was a great 2 days, and we made sure to go to at least one place everyone wanted to go to. So someone chose the Team Lab Borderless Digital Art Museum in the Mori Digital Art Museum in Tokyo. I loved the balloon area. So beautiful. Laser light show room. I've got a little video here. We could have spent so long in there. My choice was the Godzilla store in Shinjuku, and amazing. I do have to say, I'm glad I budgeted to have enough to spend there, because I did buy a good number of souvenirs at that store. My friend Raven picked the Kawaii Monster Cafe in Shibuya, which was so fun, so cute. The food was themed. I'd never been to a themed cafe until that point, and I have to say I enjoyed the Monster Burger. And before I left, I found a Magikarp-shaped taiyaki, which I had to get, of course. Taiyaki is fish-shaped bread filled with usually red bean paste. This one was chocolate pudding. Alright, next we're going to be moving on to peer interviews. So the peer interviews, for those, I actually asked some specific questions and more broad questions of 3 of my peers who were also fellow international students at Kansai Gaidai, and they were super, super wonderful. They all responded so nicely. So first we have Raven. She's from Virginia, United States. Michael, he has dual citizenship in the United States and Canada and is currently living in Minnesota. And Taru, she is an international student from Finland. Without further ado, I have around 7 questions. I had to take some out for the purpose of time. The first one was, what was the most difficult part of financing your trip? And how did you manage or try to manage your budget while abroad? Raven said the most difficult part was budgeting. Luckily, I'm pretty frugal and stingy when it comes to money, so I managed to spend only half of my original budget for the 4 months of being abroad. I was able to manage my money by creating a budget for how much money I spend for food. For example, I would only spend a max of $6 on lunch and cook for dinner. Overall, food in Japan was pretty cheap, so that also helped with expenses. Michael said planning the finances wasn't difficult. He said that it was because the most difficult part was going out and buying groceries 3 times per week because he would run out of food too quickly. Taru said watching over the budget has been very difficult as there's many side costs you can't predict. Also, not overspending is another thing. Very true, you don't want to go around spending too much money in the very beginning. Did you find the classes more or less difficult, or the workload different from your home institution? So Raven had the same experience as me and found the workload to be around the same as the home institution. Michael said the workload in general was fine, though a bit much at times. Taru said that classes are around the same level as her university, just that the workload was far greater than at home, and was truly exhausted all the time. Now, that I think also has to do with where our home institutions are from. I believe Finland doesn't quite have the same level of homework that, say, the United States has. And so, Kansai Gaidai being based off of United States universities, that does happen, unfortunately. What was your favorite place or places you visited? Raven said it was Universal Studios Japan, Kyoto, Nara, and Dotonbori. So Raven pretty much liked everywhere. I had a similar sentiment, Raven. Michael said definitely Nara. And Taru said it's hard to say what her favorite is, but structure-wise, I like Kyoto a lot. Next, I asked what were your favorite and least favorite foods, and did you have difficulty adjusting to the food in Japan? Raven said my favorite foods in Japan were karage, fried chicken, and okonomiyaki. Side note, that's a pancake, savory pancake that you decorate how you want with what you want on it. And she says my least favorite food was natto. In the beginning, I had difficulties adjusting to the food because I was unfamiliar with it. So I found myself eating a lot of convenience store food from 7-Eleven or Lawson's. However, after a week or two, I became more brave to eating more traditional Japanese food and ended up loving it. Good job, Raven. Michael says, I'm Asian, so I eat a ton of rice. However, it was the food portions that were far too small for me, and the food is expensive too. He also says, by the way, I don't like natto. Seems to be a general consensus. Taru also says, my favorite food is ramen and fried meat. I feel like a lot of people are going to agree with you. Least favorite is meat from animal inner parts like heart and liver, and also doesn't like natto. General consensus, international students might not be the biggest fans of natto. How do you feel about leaving at the end of the semester? Do you feel as though your language skills have improved and or have you gained a better knowledge of Japanese culture? If you're staying, you can feel free to omit this question. Raven said, I feel really sad about leaving Japan. Also, I don't know if my language skills have necessarily improved, but I feel a little more comfortable speaking Japanese to local Japanese students, even if I found myself making some grammatical errors. I learned to be more confident and not be afraid to make mistakes. When it comes to Japanese culture, I've learned more about proper etiquette when it comes to eating. For example, after one finishes eating, I learned from the local students that you would say, "Gochisousama deshita," which in turn meant, thank you for the food. Michael said, I'll miss all the friends I've made here. If there's one thing I would bring back, it would be them. I felt my Japanese skills did improve, though I'm better at understanding than speaking. Taru omitted her question because she's still going to be studying abroad. What would your best advice to future international students be? This is the last question. Raven said, don't be afraid to put yourself out there when it comes to interacting with the local Japanese students. Don't just interact with foreign students, so you can improve your Japanese and learn more about the culture. Also, please try not to blow or spend all of your money in the first month. I know it's exciting to get a lot of different goods, but that will only hurt you in the long run. Learn to budget. Don't spend all of your money. You'll become limited to how much you travel throughout the country. Overall, don't just focus on buying material things. Invest in spending money on traveling to new places. I completely agree, Raven. Michael said, a word of advice, there's a lottery system in place, so come up with a class schedule, A, B, and C. Some classes are offered on Gotenyama, others on Nakamiya. It's a 15-minute walk from one to the other, so make sure you choose classes accordingly. For you athletic folks out there, the gym is located 45 minutes away from Yui, but only 10 to 15 minutes if you walk through Nakamiya. The Wi-Fi is pretty bad, so make sure you get a SIM card and or pocket Wi-Fi. It rains here a lot, so pack an umbrella, rain boots, and a jacket. Summers are hot, but winters are nice. Also, the Kendo class is a studio art course, even though the school catalog doesn't classify it as such, so if you're interested, just a heads up. Taru says, plan everything on time and fill in the application sooner rather than later. Also, be open to new experiences. All three of you gave some great advice. Much appreciated. Thank you to you guys. Props to them. Next, and finally, we'll just talk about where to start. So as you work toward entering your chosen program, you'll need to make contact with the study abroad department. In addition, the team there, by the way, is helpful, and they were so great this whole time I was there. Wonderful. It also helped me to make contact with a representative from my host institution's study abroad department for program-specific questions. There's just some questions the study abroad staff cannot answer. They can't know every single thing about each program. With that in mind, I'm happy to help answer any questions you guys have. You can check out my personal blog, which I used while I was in Japan for keeping up with family and friends. So it's pretty informal. There's probably a few spelling errors that I didn't notice to edit out of there. You can also just simply browse it to see more details of my experiences. Enjoy your journeys all, and stay safe, everyone. And there's the link to my study abroad blog. Bye-bye now.